Alrighty, CNT120, Chapter 1 Lab. We're now on Part 4, or Layer 4. Layer 4 is all about the reliable delivery of data from, device to device, if you will. So when we do things like load a web page, a protocol like TCP is going to get used to make sure all the pieces get labeled and delivered to the destination so the whole web page is delivered. That's the whole idea. If you think about a partial web page getting loaded is not very useful to you, or a partial email getting sent is not very useful to you. So we are going to now look at the Philadelphia side of the network, and we're going to use something called a packet sniffer to capture packets off the network for us to look at them. So let's look at the Philadelphia side. This is our Philadelphia side of the network over here. Here's our PC. Here's our laptop. Here's our sniffer. A sniffer is, in real life, it'd be something like a Wireshark. That's something that'll be maybe familiar down the road to you. The sniffer actually gathers packets and makes a copy of them so we can look at all the data moving along a segment or a chunk of the network. So what we're going to do is this laptop right here, we are going to carefully, I'm going to plug that right back in there. I'm going to grab this end of the patch cable over here, and I'm going to plug it into the hub. Now, any data going from the laptop through the network, this hub is a layer 1 device, meaning it's going to repeat everything. It's going to repeat all of this traffic moving through here over for the packet sniffer to be able to pick up and read. So any traffic this laptop sends into the network and back, this sniffer is going to get a copy, and it's going to allow us to open up and look at it. So I'm now going to open up, I'm going to open up I made sure all the link lights are here. All my link lights are green, good, which is good. They're green, that's good. So I'm going to open up the sniffer, and I'm going to make sure, I'm going to click on the sniffer, I'm going to go to the GUI tab, and I'm going to look down here to make sure that I have DNS, HTTP, ICMP, and TCP set up to capture. If for any reason they don't, I can open up the edit filters and look for them, DNS, ICMP. Over here is my TCP, HTTP. I can just check those to make sure those are the ones that are being captured and shown. Those are the packets that I want, the protocols I want to see this packet sniffer capture. All right, I'm going to try to leave that window handy. The next thing I'm going to do is from my laptop, I'm going to open the browser and I'm going to load a web page. Now, remember, this is a simulator. I can't actually load a web page like hack.edu or google.com because this is in the simulator. However, I do have a web browser over here, a web server over here programmed with this IP. And I also have it set up with a domain name that we can actually load the web page from this server, just like I would be in real life. So, again, I'm going to keep my sniffer handy. I'm going to open my laptop. I'm going to open up the desktop here. I'm going to open up the browser. And just like it tells you in the lab, I'm going to load the web page right here, cnt.org, www.cnt.org. And I'm going to watch both the web page load, and I'm going to actually watch the sniffer as well. So I got to get all my windows situated here. There we go. There we go. Okay. So there's my sniffer. I can see the packets come in, and I'm going to load the web page over here, www.cnt.org. And I'm going to say go, and I should see the web page load here, and I should see the packets show up over here, which they did. That's what I want to see. So I see the web page loaded. Yay! CNT120 HTTP server, Chapter 1 Lab. Yay! Okay. I'm now going to look at, I really want to just look at these packets that I've captured. So here, I'm going to highlight one of the TCP segments, and I want to look at what's inside of it. So I see some DNS. Real quickly, DNS is, when I typed in www.cnt.org, DNS translated that, resolved that into an IP address so I could talk to the web server. When I did that, TCP got kicked in to say, hey, let's make sure everything gets organized and numbered and labeled so it all gets there. And then the web page got loaded. And then TCP was there to say, okay, everything's here, let's shut down. Okay, so that's what we're seeing real quickly there. What I want to look at is one of these first TCP segments is what they're called. I'm going to make this larger. Now, let's look down through, and I want to look at the different headers that are in here. Now, this is really a chunk of data coming off the network. So it came off the network, and it's opening up these headers. It's opening up the Ethernet header and printing the data. It's opening up the IP header and printing the data. It's opening up the TCP header and printing the data. So this is kind of on the receiving end. This is on the receiving end. I bumped that up there. This is on the receiving end and printing everything it sees as it comes in. So here is the Ethernet header with the destination MAC address as well as the source MAC address. So these here would be the address of the laptop and the server. That's what I'm seeing up here. That's what these addresses are. In the IP header, I'll see things like the source IP and the destination IP. Well, the source IP in this case is the laptop, and the server is 30.4. So that's the destination. So this up here would be the server MAC, and this would be the laptop MAC. Okay, that's what I'm seeing in these headers. As I go down to the TCP header, I want to look at what addressing it uses. Well, it uses port numbers. It uses source port number and destination port number. The source port number, 1025 in this case, is coming from my browser. Most browsers use dynamic port numbers, so if you had 5 or 6 tabs open, it'd be using different port numbers to keep track of those different tabs. The destination is 80, and that's significant. Web servers are programmed to listen to port 80. So this is definitely going to the web server. That's what we're seeing there. Well, all of this is significant because all of this TCP gets used to make sure the whole web page gets there. This is layer 4. Here was layer 2 Ethernet. There's your MAC addresses. Here's layer 3. There's your IP addresses. This is layer 4. These are your port numbers. That is your layer 4, your port numbers. Okay? So on my notepad, I'm going to record those. So I'm going to open up my notepad file that I'm keeping record here. So I'm going to put in here layer 4 port numbers, something to that effect. And I'm going to do source port. And I'm going to put, I think mine was 1025. Yeah, there it is, 1025. And then I'll put destination port. Destination port in this case is 80 because it's the web server. I'm going to record those showing that I looked at that layer 4 information. All right. I'm going to leave that sniffer open because we are going to use this in the last part of our lab to look at my upper layer application. All right. So last podcast will be the upper layers, the last layers that we're going to look at.